Hello, my dear friend. Welcome to the stories of life, where you will gently be lulled into a peaceful sleep. I am Lucius, someone who loves to listen and heal emotions, and it is truly an honor to accompany you as a comforting voice beside you in the quiet moments of the night. Just a voice, along with the soft hum of the world outside your window, or perhaps the gentle rhythm of your own breath. Do you feel tired? Is it as though the weight of the past days is bearing down on your shoulders? Are you lying there tonight with a heavy heart, dear friend? Has this day, or perhaps many days before it, felt longer than it should have? Maybe you're wondering when life will start feeling gentle again, when the ache will soften and the loneliness will become less sharp. Have there been moments when you reached out but felt no one truly heard you? Have your hopes ever fallen apart so quietly that you weren't even sure when the moment of failure happened, only that you were left picking up pieces you hadn't realized were broken? Sometimes the nights can feel so long, and the silence, instead of soothing, can ring hollow and cold. Maybe your thoughts keep circling back to a memory, or a decision you regret, or a goodbye that came too soon. Maybe you're grieving something you can't even name, a version of yourself that once was, or someone who walked out of your life, or a dream that you no longer believe is within reach. I wonder if you've been trying to hold yourself together while everything inside you feels like it's unraveling. That kind of exhaustion, the kind that's not just physical, but emotional, even spiritual, is hard to carry quietly. And yet, I know many people do. Maybe you do. And if so, I want you to know, I see that. I see you. Have you been hiding tears from others, keeping your pain neatly tucked behind a smile, convincing those around you that you're okay, even when you're not sure you are? If any of this feels familiar, please know that tonight, in this space, there's no need to pretend. You don't have to have it all together. You don't need to prove your strength or mask your feelings. This moment is for you, unfiltered, unjudged, and understood. I understand that feeling. Sometimes the quiet moments are not the peace we long for, but instead a surge of loneliness. There is a kind of silence that doesn't bring rest, but rather reminds us of what's missing. It's not always the absence of people. Sometimes you can be surrounded by others and still feel like you're walking through life alone. That aching kind of loneliness doesn't come from being without company, but from feeling unseen, unheard, untouched by genuine care. And when failure or grief enters the picture, that loneliness only deepens. You may have tried your best, poured your heart into something, a relationship, a job, a dream, only to watch it unravel. The sting of heartbreak doesn't always come from dramatic exits. Sometimes it's slow and quiet, like water eroding stone. One day, things are as they always were, and the next, something precious is gone. A person, an opportunity, a sense of self. And when that happens, the world doesn't stop. People keep going, and it might feel like you're expected to keep up, to move on quickly, to be fine, but inside, everything is changed. You're left holding grief like it's something that can't quite be explained. Maybe it comes in waves, sharp and sudden, or maybe it lingers like a dull ache that colors everything you do. I've known people who felt like they failed, not because they didn't try, but because what they gave wasn't enough for the world or for the person they loved. That kind of sorrow leaves a deep mark. It makes you question your worth, your future, even your past. And I've also known people who've lost someone, not just to death, but to distance, misunderstanding, or time. The grief of absence, especially when it comes without closure, is a kind of pain that lingers in the soul. If any of these feelings are with you now, I want you to know you're not strange or weak. What you're feeling is human. These emotions, they are part of what it means to love, to risk, to hope, and to be alive. And if you're feeling them deeply, it means your heart is still open, even if it's hurting. If you're willing to share, I'm more than happy to listen. Sometimes, having someone beside you, listening and understanding, is all it takes to make you feel less alone. What's been weighing on your heart lately, dear friend? Has there been something you've wanted to say aloud, but felt no one would understand? Maybe you've tried to put it into words before, but ended up retreating in silence, unsure of how to explain something that feels so complicated. You don't have to explain everything perfectly here. I'm not here to judge or fix or question your feelings. I'm here to be with you as someone who knows that sometimes what we need most is not advice, but presence. If you've felt rejected or unloved, I hear you. If your confidence has taken a blow from failure, from betrayal, from comparison, I want you to know I understand that sting. If you've made mistakes and feel weighed down by regret, please don't hide that hurt. I know how heavy shame can be and how hard it is to speak it aloud, but in this space, you're safe. You're free to bring all of it, the messy, the fragile, the vulnerable, without fear. And if you're grieving, whether it's someone you loved or something you lost that once gave your life meaning, you're allowed to say that it hurts. You don't have to pretend that time has healed you if it hasn't. You don't need to rush through your sorrow just to make others more comfortable. Pain demands to be felt, and sometimes the most courageous thing we can do is simply admit, I'm hurting. So if there's anything you want to share, even in your own mind or heart as you listen, know that I am right here. You are not speaking into a void. I am listening with a heart that truly wants to understand. Don't worry. Let your heart relax a little and allow yourself to feel what's inside you. Let your shoulders drop just a little. Breathe slowly. Let the weight of your worries ease, even for a moment. You don't need to have it all figured out tonight. You don't need to fix every broken piece at once. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to pause and feel, without judgment, without pressure. Failure does not define your worth. Heartbreak does not erase your capacity to love. Loneliness does not mean you are unlovable. And grief, though it feels endless, is not your enemy. It is the love you still carry with nowhere to go. Sometimes, the path to healing begins with simply letting yourself be, not fighting your feelings, not running from them, but gently sitting with them. Let them speak, let them breathe, and let yourself breathe too. It's okay to feel broken. You don't need to be whole to be loved. You don't need to be strong to be valuable. You don't need to pretend to be okay. You just need to be honest with yourself and patient with your heart. I know this isn't easy, but you've made it here, to this quiet place. That says something. It says you haven't given up, even if part of you feels lost. That's bravery. That's strength. So rest, dear friend, in this quiet moment. Allow yourself the kindness you would offer someone else. You deserve that same gentleness. You deserve love, peace, and the slow, patient path to healing. And though it may not happen all at once, every time you choose to be kind to yourself, you are taking one step closer. You are not alone, and tonight I am here with you, my dear friend. I know that at times like this, you might feel as though you are alone, but I want to tell you that you are not alone. There are seasons in life when everything feels still and silent, not in a peaceful way, but in a way that echoes through your heart. Maybe you've been carrying so much that your very spirit feels tired. And though people may see you going about your daily life, they don't always know the truth, that you've been grieving something deeply. Perhaps it was the loss of someone dear, or the ending of a relationship you believed would last, or the slow erosion of a dream you once held tightly in your heart. It's in those quiet hours, when the world is dark and the day's distractions fade away, that the ache feels most present. That's when the questions rise. Why did it end? What could I have done differently? Will it always hurt like this? And you may feel like no one else could understand, that your pain is too specific, too hidden, too personal. But I want you to know something deeply true. You are not the only one who has felt this way. You are not alone in this valley. There are countless hearts that have broken quietly in the night. There are people who have wept into pillows, questioned their worth after a failure, or cried for someone who is no longer within reach. What you are experiencing is not weakness. It is proof that you've loved, that you've tried, that you've cared. And yes, that kind of living leaves scars, but it also shows the beauty of a heart that has been open. And so, I want to tell you a story, not a story of someone perfect or untouched by pain, but of someone whose life, though marked by grief and loss, became a light for others, not because they escaped heartbreak, but because they walked through it with honesty and faith. Let me take you to the life of someone you may know, Celine Dion, a woman whose voice has touched millions, but whose story of loss and resilience speaks to even deeper truths than any song could carry. There was someone who went through something similar, Celine Dion, the beloved singer from Canada. Her voice captivated the world, but behind the stage, lights and applause was a long road of grief, heartbreak, and quiet endurance. Celine Dion was born into a large and humble family in Quebec, the youngest of 14 children. Her journey into music began early, and her voice quickly set her apart. She was just a young girl when she caught the attention of René Angelil, a music manager who saw something extraordinary in her. He mortgaged his house to produce her first album, a gesture of belief and love that would change both of their lives. Over time, that professional bond turned into a deep and abiding love. René was much older than Celine, but their connection was unmistakable. He became not only her husband but her closest confidant, her guide, and her emotional anchor. Their love story was not one of fleeting passion, but of enduring commitment, woven through decades of personal and professional highs and lows. But Celine's life, though filled with fame and success, was also marked by immense personal sorrow. In 1999, Renee was diagnosed with throat cancer. Celine put her career on hold to care for him. Their journey was filled with surgeries, treatment cycles, moments of hope followed by periods of fear. Though he eventually recovered, the shadow of illness never truly disappeared. In 2014, his cancer returned, this time more aggressively. Celine once again stepped away from the spotlight to care for him, even as she performed shows in Las Vegas to financially support their family and her staff. She was often performing at night, then caring for her husband by day, managing medication schedules, attending medical appointments, holding his hand as he faced pain, and watching, slowly and painfully, as the love of her life slipped away. Renee passed away in January 2016. Just 2 days later, Celine's brother Daniel also died of cancer. In the span of 1 week, Celine lost 2 of the most important men in her life. Imagine that for a moment, being in the public eye, expected to maintain grace and professionalism while carrying that unbearable weight, she grieved not only as a wife and sister, but as a mother to her young children, who also lost their father. She had to stay strong, not for herself, but for them. And yet, in interviews and public appearances, she never hid her sorrow. She allowed the world to see her humanity. She cried, she spoke honestly. She didn't pretend the pain wasn't real. She once said, "You cannot stop living, go forward. And today, my children are strong. I have to be strong." Her words weren't bold declarations of perfect healing. They were quiet affirmations of someone who knew grief intimately, but chose to walk with it rather than be destroyed by it. Even years later, Celine continues to honor René's memory. She still speaks of him with love. She says she feels his presence and that she continues to sing, in part because of him. But grief is not something that has vanished from her life. It is simply transformed from sharp sorrow into a steady, lingering ache that has found its place beside her joy. In 2022, Celine publicly revealed that she had been diagnosed with a rare neurological disorder called stiff person syndrome, a condition that affects her ability to perform something she has loved all her life. Again, she faced another kind of heartbreak, the possibility of losing not just her health, but her voice, her connection to the world through music. And yet, she didn't disappear. She spoke of her condition with vulnerability and courage. She promised to keep fighting, to keep believing, to keep showing up however she could. Celine's story is not a fairy tale, but something much more powerful, a testimony to how a human heart can keep beating even after it's been shattered. She didn't run from her pain. She allowed it to shape her. She let it deepen her connection with others. She used it not to build walls, but to extend empathy. She once said, "When you lose someone you love, you can't move on. You learn to live with it." That single sentence contains a universe of truth, because that is the reality of grief. It doesn't end, it changes, and somehow we grow stronger around it. Celine Dion didn't escape heartbreak. She didn't avoid failure or sorrow. She walked through them all, one step, one tear, one song at a time. Celine Dion's story is a reminder that sometimes, in our darkest moments, we find the light. When we look at someone like Celine Dion, it's easy to see only the spotlight, the voice, the accolades, the global stage. But behind all of that is a woman who knows heartbreak just as deeply, perhaps even more than many. She reminds us that grief doesn't mean we are broken forever, that loving deeply, even if it ends in sorrow, is still worth it. That failure, whether it's the failure to save someone or the failure to hold on to a dream, is not the final word. Celine's story tells us that we can go on, not because we're strong every moment, but because we choose to show up for life, even when it hurts, even when we're afraid, even when we've lost so much that we wonder if we can ever feel whole again. And maybe that's where real healing begins, not in forgetting, not in fixing, but in feeling, in remembering, in honoring what was, while choosing to keep going. If you're walking through loneliness right now, dear friend, or carrying the weight of failure or heartbreak, let this story live inside your heart. Let it be a candle flickering in the dark, a gentle reminder that even in pain there is beauty, even in silence there is presence, even in grief there can be grace. You are not alone, and just like Celine, you have the strength to carry what hurts without losing what makes you beautiful. Now, my dear friend, I want to encourage you to be strong. Life can be difficult, and sometimes we will feel exhausted, but I believe that God is always by your side. There are moments when life presses on your chest so tightly it feels hard to breathe, moments when your strength seems to vanish, and you wonder how much more you can carry. If that's how you feel, Tanator, any night, I want you to know something that matters more than anything. You are not alone, and you are not forgotten. You have already been through so much. You have endured heartache and disappointment. You've shown up to your days even when your soul felt heavy. You've kept moving even with tears in your eyes. And that is courage, that is grace, that is strength. But it's okay to feel tired. You don't have to pretend to be okay all the time. Even the strongest hearts need rest. Even the most faithful wander sometimes in the desert. I encourage you now not to deny your pain, but to bring it gently before God. Let Him hold it for you. Let Him renew your strength. The Bible doesn't promise a life free from suffering. It promises something even greater, that in our weakness, God's strength will carry us. You are being shaped, refined, and protected even in the times that feel like loss, even in the days when you don't see any progress. You are not being left behind. You are being led slowly and gently by the one who knows every crack in your heart and still calls you beloved. As it says in Isaiah 41:10, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." When the night stretches long and shadows seem to grow larger than the light, These words from Isaiah can become a lifeline. Do not fear, God says not, because there is nothing to fear, but because He is with you. That presence isn't distant or symbolic. It is personal. It's real. It's the kind of presence that stands beside you in the hospital room, that holds you while you weep quietly in the shower, that listens when you whisper prayers that feel too broken to say out loud. Do not be dismayed, He says. He knows how easily your heart grows weary. He knows how overwhelming it feels to wake up some mornings and face the same ache again. But He speaks this verse as a promise, not as a command to suppress your feelings. You're not being told to be emotionless. You're being reminded that your emotions, your fears, your heartbreak, they all matter to God. He will strengthen you, not just with ideas or sermons or songs, but with His hand in yours. He will help you carry what feels unbearable. He will uphold you not occasionally, not when you're perfect, but constantly with His righteous hand. Even now, as you sit or lie in the quiet, trying to gather your courage again, He is here. He is listening. He is watching over you. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, beloved, held. Take a breath. Let that truth settle into your spirit. I will help you, God says, and He means it. Remember, in our weakest moments, that is when God is closest. He will not let you face it alone. You might feel like your strength is running out, like your tears have been too many, or your prayers too unanswered. But here's the mystery and the miracle. God does not wait for you to be strong to be near you. He leans in when you are weak. In fact, the Bible teaches that it is in our weakness that His power is made perfect. 2 Corinthians 12-9. What a tender, beautiful promise that you don't need to prove your strength to be worthy of His help. You only need to be honest, real, vulnerable. God does not abandon the hurting. He binds up the brokenhearted. Psalm 147-3. When grief has taken your breath away, He is the one who breathes peace back into your lungs. When loneliness wraps around you like a fog, He stands beside you, even if no one else does. Maybe you felt forgotten by people. Maybe someone you loved turned away. Maybe a door you prayed to stay open was slammed shut. But listen closely. God is not like people. He doesn't walk away when things get hard. He doesn't grow tired of your sadness. He doesn't need you to have it all together before He holds you close. He is the shepherd who leaves the 99 to find the one who's lost, the father who runs toward the returning child, the friend who weeps when you weep. Let Him be that for you tonight. Let Him come close to your broken places, not to judge them, but to gently begin the work of healing. He already knows every ache, and still He stays. Do not let temporary failures define you, for as Psalm 34-18 says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. There is something sacred about heartbreak, not because it feels good, but because God does some of His most intimate work in that space. When your heart is in pieces, when the future feels unclear, And when failure seems louder than hope, that's where God meets you. Failure may speak loudly, telling you that you're not enough, that you'll never recover, that you've lost too much. But the voice of the Lord is gentler, quieter, and infinitely more true. He says, He is near to you. Psalm 34-18 doesn't say that God is near only when you succeed. It says He is close when you're broken. That's when He's drawing near, not pulling away. He sees your crushed spirit. He knows the silent sobs, the forced smiles, the times you've wondered if joy will ever return, and still He draws near. So if you're holding failure tonight, if you feel that your mistakes are too great or your dreams have died, remember this: God is not finished with you. He sees the ashes of what was, and He whispers, I can still make beauty from this. He is not keeping score. He is extending grace. He is not turning away. He is walking beside you. So lift your eyes, even if just for a moment. There is light again, even if it's faint. There is still purpose. There is still love, and there is still time to grow, to heal, to hope. Let Psalm 34-18 be your anchor. You are not alone in this breaking. God is closer than ever. Be strong. Do not give up, and live according to God's teachings. You will see that after every trial, you will grow stronger and realize that sometime those difficulties are the stepping stones that bring you closer to peace and happiness. This journey, your journey, is far from over. Every step you've taken, even the ones that felt like failures, have brought you to this very moment. And this moment, however quiet or tender or uncertain it may feel, is not the end. God's teachings are not a burden to carry. They are a path to peace. They do not ask you to be perfect. They ask you to walk in love, to forgive, to trust, to keep showing up with a heart willing to believe that goodness is still possible. So, keep going. Let your heartbreak teach you compassion. Let your failure teach you resilience. Let your loneliness turn into kindness for others who are hurting. And let God's word light your way. When you feel lost, open the Bible. When you feel overwhelmed, whisper a prayer. When you feel abandoned, remember the promise, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Deuteronomy 31-6. Do not let pain make you hard. Let it make you more aware of the beauty that still exists, the small moments of grace, the people who still care, the God who always loves. You are not made to be defined by your suffering. You are made to overcome it, not through your own strength alone, but through faith. You have a future, you have a purpose, you have a God who walks beside you. So tonight, rest, and when morning comes, rise gently. Take the next small step and keep trusting, not in the absence of hardship, but in the presence of the one who never leaves you in it alone. You are seen, you are known, and you are deeply, deeply loved.